Today, we're diving deep into one of history's most enduring mysteries, the lost city of Atlantis.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into one of the most famous legends in human history, Atlantis. But here's the twist. This isn't really an explainer about a lost city. Nope, it's an explainer about a lost story, and how, over thousands of years, we've turned a philosopher's simple warning into a full-blown global obsession.
This is it. This one single dramatic line from the Greek philosopher Plato, way back around 360 BCE, this is the spark. This is what lit the fuse on a fire that's been burning for almost 2,400 years. Every movie, every book, every crazy theory, it all starts right here.
And that's the big question we're gonna tackle. We're gonna peel this thing back like an onion, layer by layer. We'll start with the fiction we all know and love, and then dig down to the fiction that started it all, and try to figure out why on earth this story still has such a grip on our imagination.
Okay, so first things first. When I say the word Atlantis, what's the first image that pops into your head? For most of us, it's probably not something from an ancient Greek text, right? It's an image that's been built for us by Hollywood. Yeah, you're thinking of the Disney movie, right? Or maybe Aquaman from the DC universe. It's this amazing, mystical kingdom under the sea with flying machines and laser beams ruled by these half-god kings. It's this massive global empire with incredible superpowers. It's an awesome fantasy. But, and this is a big but, it has almost nothing to do with what Plato actually described.
So let's peel back that shiny pop culture layer. To really get what the guy who invented Atlantis was trying to say, you have to understand the tool he was using, and that tool is called allegory. And this is the key. For Plato, Atlantis was never history. It wasn't a real place. It was a powerful thought experiment, a kind of cautionary tale he made up to get his fellow Athenians to think about their own society, their own pride, and their own weaknesses. What Plato does here is pretty clever. He basically sets up this classic hero versus villain showdown. He invents Atlantis to be the ultimate bad guy, this greedy, materialistic, power-hungry naval empire. Why? To make his hero, a perfect, idealized version of his own city, Athens, look even better. Atlantis was all about arrogance, while Athens was all about virtue. And, well, you can guess who wins in Plato's story. So, look, for actual philosophers and scholars who study this stuff, the case is pretty much closed. Plato wasn't writing a treasure map. He was teaching a moral lesson. As Julia Annis puts it, if we're out there exploring the seabed, we've completely missed the point he was trying to make.
Okay, so if it was just a made-up story with a moral, how in the world did we get from a philosophical lesson to a global hunt for a lost continent? For that, we need to jump forward in time, a long way forward.
You know, after Plato, his story was mostly just treated as a story. For almost 2,000 years, it was basically a footnote in philosophy. But then, a couple of things happened. First, the discovery of the Americas got people thinking about the idea of lost lands. And then, in 1882, an American politician named Ignatius Donnelly wrote a book that changed everything.
Donnelly basically took Plato's simple sketch and painted over it with this giant, epic, pseudo-history. He claimed Atlantis wasn't a story, it was a real place. Not only that, it was a highly advanced mother culture that gave rise to all the other great ancient civilizations, from the Egyptians to the Maya. He even connected it to the Bible, saying it was the actual Garden of Eden, wiped out by Noah's flood. Now, once Donnelly opened that door and declared Atlantis was real, the story was basically up for grabs, and it got hijacked by people who took it in some really strange and sometimes pretty dark directions. And this is where the story goes completely off the rails. You had occultists like Helena Blavatsky who folded Atlantis into her own spiritual theories, claiming they were a root race that came before the Aryan race. Nazi ideologues then took that idea and twisted it to support their horrifying racist worldview, claiming a Nordic master race came from a northern Atlantis. And at the same time, you had American psychics like Edgar Cayce giving readings from the great beyond, adding all these new details like laser crystals and prophesying that the continent would rise again. Which brings us to today. The hunt for Atlantis has gone high-tech. We're talking satellite imagery, deep-sea sonar, TV documentary crews, the whole shebang. But what have they actually found? Well, the most plausible scientific theory for a real-world inspiration behind the story is the absolute monster of a volcanic eruption on the island of Thera, which we now call Santorini. This thing was one of the biggest explosions in human history, and it absolutely devastated the powerful Minoan civilization nearby. So you can see the connection, right? A powerful island civilization gets hammered by a natural disaster. But here's the thing, when you actually line up the details, the theory just falls apart. The timing is wrong by thousands of years, the location is wrong, it's in the Aegean Sea, not the Atlantic, the size is way off, and the Minoans, they weren't totally wiped out, their culture survived for centuries after the blast. So while it was a real catastrophe, it's almost certainly not Atlantis. And that hasn't stopped anyone from looking, everywhere. From the coast of Spain to the Bahamas, from the deserts of Mauritania to even under the ice in Antarctica. At this point, Atlantis has just become a generic brand name for any unexplained ruin or weird-looking spot on a map. So we've gone from a philosopher's warning to a blockbuster movie. This story has been twisting and changing for over 2,000 years, which gets us to the real question. It's not where is Atlantis, it's why can't we let it go? Because really, the search for Atlantis isn't about archaeology. It's about us. It's about psychology. It taps into this deep human longing for a lost golden age, a paradise we've fallen from. It gives us a simple, exciting answer to complex mysteries like how the pyramids were built. It speaks to that part of us that doesn't quite trust the experts. And let's be honest, at the end of the day, it's just a really, really good story about a brilliant civilization that was tragically lost forever. You know, in the end, Plato used Atlantis as a mirror for his city of Athens. And today, we're still using it as a mirror for ourselves. It reflects our own hopes for a better world and our fears about our own societies collapsing. It's a story that tells us way more about who we are right now than it ever could about some lost city. Which kind of leaves you with a final thought, doesn't it? What lost paradise are you searching for?